Hey everyone, Dave LaRock again. We're going to go over the agenda for the meeting on March 2nd, or at least part of it. This is going to be covered on the March 2nd meeting, and this is going to be regarding rule number 6. We're going to leave the batting out of order or batting out of turn component, and that's 607, out of this particular demonstration. I'll address that in a separate one. It's something that's rather important and everybody tends to struggle with a little bit, so I want to focus on that. At the end of the day, it's actually really quite simple. But for the sake of brevity and not overloading you, because Rule 6 has a lot to cover, we'll leave 607 out in a different presentation. All right? Rule 6 is regarding the batter, and when we get into it, 601 is all about the batting order. Batting order must be established. People must bat in the order that they are listed. The next batter of the following inning will be the succeeding batter after the person who made the third out, except in the event where the person who's in the batter's box or at bat was not the third out. So, in other words, caught stealing, appeal play, something that caused the third out that didn't impact the batter at that point in time. That batter is going to be the next batter when the next half inning begins for that team, and they're going to have a 0-0 count. So any count that's on them will be wiped out. Moving on to 602, the batter is going to get in the batter's box, and the batter shall not leave the position in the batter's box, especially when the pitcher comes to a set position or starts a windup. So in other words, if that batter is in the box, pitcher's taking a sweet time, begins their motion, begins their windup, or comes to a set position, and doesn't pause long enough, and that batter requests time to the umpire at the plate umpire may not grant that. Again, time is not demanded, time is requested. So if the plate umpire doesn't choose to grant time to the person requesting it, and that batter steps out, and the pitcher continues to pitch, as they should, then you're going to call that a ball or a strike depending upon where the pitch was. The reality here is that since your frame of reference stepped out of the batter's box, if that if that pitch is pretty much anywhere over the plate, I'm going to take the strike on that one. Okay? Batter's going to learn a lesson there, and as they get older, they generally won't do this. They'll know when the appropriate point to call time is, and you can award time as needed. 602C also covers what's going on in the batter's box, what happens. 602C also covers a new addition to the local league rules or local league rule options this year for 2017, that if the local league adopts this, the batter must stay in the batter's box with at least 1 foot. They must keep at least 1 foot in the batter's box the entire time. There are some exceptions. There's 8 exceptions, and they're all whether they swing or whether the catcher does not catch a pitched ball, if there's time called, so forth and so on. These were addressed in a previous presentation. They're outlined pretty clearly in the rule book here, so as I'm talking, hopefully you're reading these and understand if the local league adopts these rules, what do we do? If the pitcher leaves the dirt, for example. And then the last one is the situation where the batter thinks he's got ball 4, tosses the bat, starts trotting down to first base, and you bang a strike on him. So if you've got 3 balls, no strikes, 3-0 count, and that pitch is borderline, you're looking for the strike. They're looking for ball 4. Most of the time, they're just going to, well, they'll look back at you or they'll know. But the borderline pitch, sometimes they dump the bat and start trotting. You bang a strike and they have to come back and look silly. So that's one of those exceptions, and just be ready for that. There is a prescribed penalty for this. If the batter leaves the batter's box or delays play, the umpire shall warn the batter. After one warning, and this is the rule book here, after one warning on a batter, the umpire shall call a strike. Any number of strikes can be called on each batter. So if that batter refuses to get back in the box, does this perpetually, you can continue to call strikes. All right. In the minor and major division, the ball is dead. Okay, obviously, the pitch doesn't have to be thrown, but that ball is dead. It doesn't count as a pitch if that pitcher doesn't pitch it. It's just a strike. Okay? However, in intermediate or above, that's a live ball. So if that batter is being penalized for not staying in the box, you bang a strike on the batter. Be ready for anything to happen. They're not going to be used to this rule. Although if they've been playing high school ball, if you're doing senior league or something like that, and they've been playing high school, this is a high school rule. So hopefully they'll be used to it. But for the younger kids, they're not. Now, a little bit of an aside, and this is me interjecting personal preference. Don't call the strike after just one warning. This is a new rule. Nobody is used to this. The kids aren't used to it. The coaches aren't used to it. They're not teaching and coaching it correctly, I'm sure, out of the gate. And if the local league adopts these rules in this year, eh, be lenient on this one. Maybe give them a second warning or sometimes even a third. We don't want to take the bat out of the kids' hands. We want to teach them. We want to kind of push them in the right direction. But we don't want to penalize them unnecessarily. Don't, in other words, plain and simple, don't be a hard ass about this rule when you're out there. Don't just be looking to call strikes. Okay? If the kid's taking advantage of this and is constantly stepping out on a ball and walking around and getting his signs, keep him in the box, son, back in the box, son, back in the box. After maybe the third son back in the box, bang the strike. The batter may return at any point, of course, and assume the new count. So if you call a strike, the ball is dead in Little League, that kid can get back in, and now you got 2 balls and 1 strike that you just called. Put the ball back in play. Don't forget to put the ball back in play again. Looking at the minors and majors division, the ball is dead. No runners may advance. So once the ball is dead, in order for it to become live, you've got to put it back in play again. The batter's legal position shall be with both feet within the batter's box. Really? Can't be with 1 foot outside the batter's box? Well, no, not when it's their time at bat. Okay? And just to be clear, the lines defining the box are considered to be within the batter's box. So in the nice little info pic we have here, Jeter, even though he is on the line, and mostly on the line with his right foot, with his back foot, that's still in the box, no problems there. A batter is legally completed his time at bat when? Okay, we get it. All right, now, let's get into the batter is out when. And this is going to be a long laundry list of things that will count for an out regarding the bat. A batter is out when a fair or foul fly ball, other than a foul tip, of course, is legally caught by the fielder. Yeah, okay, got it. Nothing new there. Now, there's an approved ruling on here, okay? And this is a long-winded paragraph. Here's the short part of this paragraph. That player may not have a foot on the ground in a dead ball area when making a catch near such area. So if you've got a field that's been cordoned off near the dugout, think something like East Greenwich High School, for example, where there's a little fence, there's some dirt area, there's a dead ball area as prescribed at the plate conference during ground rules, that fielder who's attempting to make a play on the ball may not have 1 foot on the ground in the dugout or in the dead ball area. They can have both feet over in live ball territory. They can have 1 foot above the ground in the dead ball territory as they make the catch and then step into it. Still a live ball in that case, we covered that as well. But just understand that when you get to a zone where the ball is dead, it's a dead ball area, it's out of play, that player, if they're making a attempt to catch a ball, they may not be standing with 1 or obviously both feet in that dead ball area. Okay? So if that batter runner, after an uncaught third strike, gets over to the gate of the dugout and is about to enter the dugout, but finally realizes that all the people yelling at him are screaming, "Run, run, run," and they put in little Tommy to catch who's never caught before and he doesn't know what's going on, or perhaps it's the third the third out of that half inning, and the defense abandons the field. Well, now you've got a situation where that runner can go to first base and then can actually carry on. So be aware of this. Don't adjudicate things too quickly. Once that batter steps into dead ball area, and that being the dugout or any other dead ball area near it, well, then that's over. Batter's out. Batter is also out when bunting on a third strike, infield fly is declared, batter attempts to hit a third strike and is touched by the ball. Swinging on a third strike and touched by a ball. Well, strike 3. We know that if a batter attempts to swing at a pitch and is hit by the pitch, it's a strike. So we've got now a dead ball situation, and it's strike 3. Okay, fair ball touches said batter before touching a fielder. That's a weird one. So maybe the kid's bunting, he bunts it straight down, and it bounces up as he exits the box. It's hit by him, or he runs into it. I've seen that happen. Sometimes a little chopper on a dink hit or a check swing or something bounces back up in front of the plate as that runner is coming out of the box. They make contact with the ball. So make sure that you're getting it out there. Make sure that that batter is completely out of the box. Batter's also out when, after hitting or bunting the fair ball, the bat hits the ball a second time in fair territory. Alright, so this is a little weird. Okay? After hitting or bunting a fair ball, the bat hits the ball a second time in fair territory. Somebody's going to have to think about this one and come up with a scenario. Maybe on a bunt, the ball goes down, bounces back up, and hits the bat. If that's the case, batter's out. How weird is that one, huh? It's not just a foul ball. It's not a double hit, if you will, which it is, but the batter is out on that rule. All right, the ball is dead, so you're going to kill that instantly. No runners may advance. Now, if the batter runner drops the bat and the ball rolls against the bat in fair territory, and in the umpire's judgment there was no intention to interfere, the ball's alive and in play. So, what do we got on this whole thing? Interesting. Here's the approved ruling component. If a bat is thrown into fair or foul territory and interferes with a defensive player attempting to make a play, interference shall be called whether intentional or not. Let's leave that alone for a second and come back and talk about this one. After hitting or bunting a fair ball, the bat hits the ball a second time in fair territory. It doesn't say if and when or anything about that. The batter is not out if, or the batter is out if. If the bat hits the ball a second time in fair territory, batter's out. However, whether it's live or dead is dependent upon the umpire's judgment. If you've got a weird situation where the batter hits the ball, drops the bat in fair territory, the ball runs up against it, and it's unintentional, that batter's out, but the ball's alive. If you think that the batter threw the bat at the ball and hit it, batter's out, now the ball's dead. When we look at the approved ruling, if the bat's thrown into a fair or foul territory and interferes with a defensive player attempting to make a play, we've got interference, whether intentional or not. So the scenario here is probably, I'm trying to apply this to a Little League rule here, if the batter swings, hits a little dinger that just kind of bounces and dribbles out in front of the plate, and on the backswing releases the bat and it hits the catcher, now we can take interference on that, because that catcher would have been in position to come out, make a play on that ball, and throw down to first base. There's no other rule in the book other than the blanket and umbrella statements regarding malicious conduct and malicious contact and things like that, there where you can take an out on a batter for throwing that bat. Right? Unfortunately, it happens. We want to, hey coach, please tell your batter to hold on to the bat. We can't really throw a kid out. We can't call an out on a kid for throwing the bat unless we deem it was malicious and intentional. However, the exception is that if that kid throws the bat when the catch hits the catcher and the catcher could have made a play on the ball, you can get it out that way. So Rule 6.0 is getting a little bit complicated when it comes to some weird scenarios. That double hit, or the ball hits the bat twice. If you've got that and you take an out on that, you better be ready to back it up. You better know that rule, because I don't know many coaches that do. So 6.05, moving on. Batter is out when, after hitting or bunting a foul ball, the batter runner intentionally deflects the course of the ball. Okay, well, that's fine. Dead ball, you got interference, batter runner's out. That was pretty much covered in the points of the other ones. After hitting a fair ball, the batter runner the batter runner or first base is tagged before said batter runner touches first base. Well, that's pretty much easy. We know that's an out. Okay? Now, in the majors and above, again, after a uncaught third strike, the batter batter runner or first base is tagged, you've also got an out. Now, take a quick look at this little picture I put up here. There's a couple things going on. Number one, these kids are probably 7, 8 years old, man. They are not old. Number one, this kid is hustling down the line so fast that he left his helmet, there's that little black blob behind his head, he left his helmet outside of home plate. He's moving so fast he already lost the helmet in the first couple steps. This first baseman, he's making a heck of a tag on this kid. We don't see that too often. But here's the part that I really want you to pay attention to. Look at that umpire hustling his butt up the line for a 7 or 8-year-old baseball game. Now, granted, he's probably the only umpire on the field. But notice he ain't taking this one off. He's not making a call from 2 steps behind home plate. He's getting his butt out and his butt up the line, and he's making a call on this play. Be that umpire. Moving on. A batter is out when? This is your running lane violation. Running the last half of the distance from home to first while the ball is being fielded, blah, 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 blah. Okay, make sure you understand this one right here. Okay, the lines marking that 3-foot lane are part of the lane, and the batter runner is required to have both feet in or on the lines. Okay, so it looks like we got a fair ball situation. I don't know if there's a bunt going, probably a bunt going on here. Got the catcher out ready to make a play at first base. This guy is inside or on that line. There's no running lane violation here. Good mechanic by the umpire selling that fair ball. Batter's also out when an infielder intentionally drops a fair fly ball or line drive with first and second, first and third, or first, second, and third bases occupied before 2 are out. So let's pause and think about this one again. Okay? Anytime there's a runner on base with less than 2 outs, excepting one instance, and that's when there's a runner on third only. If an infielder intentionally drops a fair fly ball or line drive, the batter is out. Right? So the whole point here really is to eliminate the double play component. But there's an approved ruling here. So same situation, if the batter is not out, if the infielder permits the ball to drop untouched to the ground, except when the infield fly rule applies. So let's take the infield fly rule situations out of the way. Let's say we've got a runners on first and third with less than 2 outs. It's not an infield fly situation. There's a pop-up to second base. The second baseman thinks, oh man, if I drop this ball, I'm going to go to second and then they're going to toss over to first. I'm going to get an easy double play. No infield fly situation here. If it falls in his glove and then pops out and you deem it intentional, batter runner's out, ball is dead, no runner shall advance. So they're only going to get the batter runner out. That runner going from first to second goes back. The runner going from third to home, he goes back to third. Nobody advances. But if that kid knows the rules, and instead of letting the ball enter his glove and then intentionally dropping it, he simply looks up at the ball, watches it, leaves his glove at his side. The ball drops, poomp, right in the clay in front of his feet. He picks it up, second, picks it up, throws to first. You got a double play there, no problem. So that's the difference. If the kid intentionally drops it, you got a dead ball and 1 out. If the kid lets the ball fall, then you've got a situation where the ball is live and anything can happen. Now in this situation, that batter runner better be hustling. Because if he ain't, that coach is going to rip him a new one. If he gets doubled up in that on a pop fly, where they're turning a double play on a ball that hits the ground and it hits the ground untouched, you got a situation there. The preceding runner shall, in the umpire's judgment, intentionally interfere with a fielder who is attempting to catch a thrown ball or to throw a ball in an attempt to complete a play. So this is an interference ruling, pretty much. Intentionally interfere. The runner from first is running to second base. It's a ground ball to the second baseman. The second baseman's waiting to make a play, and the runner slows down, and although he's not contacted by the ball, shields the second baseman momentarily. If there's an intent to interfere with a fielder who's attempting to make a play, bang, interference. Now at the intermediate level and above, okay, 2 out, runner on third, 2 strikes on the batter, the runner stealing home. If the ball touches the runner in the strike zone, it's a strike. Strike 3, batter's out. Run shall not count. If the same situation occurs and there's less than 2 outs, strike 3, batter's out, but the run counts. In both situations, the ball's dead. All right, so now we've moved on from the batter is out when to a batter is out for illegal action when. I'm not really sure why they split this up into 2 sections. So those were legal actions and he's out. These are illegal actions, but yet he's still out, so whatever. 606A, hitting the ball with one or both feet on the ground entirely outside the batter's box. Tink, so if this kid makes contact with the ball, swinging like that, bang, you got an out. If a batter hits a ball fair or foul while out of the batter's box, he should be called out. So in other words, it doesn't matter if the ball goes fair, foul, whatever. If he makes contact with the pitch while 1 foot is entirely outside of the batter's box on the ground, you're taking an out there. We don't want them taking advantage. This is taking advantage in this case. Maybe you got a slow pitcher up, the kid's well out in front of the front of the batter's box. Don't let that happen. Move the kid back or get the out on there. If the batter steps from one box to the other while the pitcher is in a position ready to pitch. So you got a live ball situation, pitcher's on the rubber, kid comes out lefty, decides he doesn't want to bat lefty anymore, switches over to righty. When do we see this? We see this when the score is 23-2. And he goes, Coach, can I bat this one lefty? And the coach goes, sure, we're killing him anyway, do whatever you want. The kid takes strike 1. He's like, the heck with that. This was a stupid idea. And he switches over to the other box when the pitcher is ready to pitch. You can take an out on that. He can ask for time, or he can wait until the pitcher is not ready to pitch, and he can switch over. Now, there's a big gray area here. While the pitcher is in a position ready to pitch. So if you've got that pitcher ready on the rubber, and that kid jumps, take an out. You're not going to be popular on that one, by the way. Be ready for that. Batter is also out for illegal action when interfering with the catcher's fielding or throwing, by stepping out of the box or making any other movement. So we've got a lovely little situation up here in this picture. That batter, for whatever reason, I don't know if he's swung around, I don't know if he's trying to get out of something, but he is definitely not where he's supposed to be. Okay, that catcher's up and throwing. So we've got interference. Okay, ball's going to be dead at that point. We've got interference on a delayed dead ball. Delayed dead ball at this one. Because we got the exception here. Okay, so if that catcher throws down and actually retires the runner who's stealing from first to second, then the out stays and the batter is not out on the interference. If they don't get it, you've got interference, the batter's out, and the runner's back to first. Okay, or we've got an illegal bat situation. Don't go looking for that one. Let it go. So now we start getting into what happens when there's an illegal bat. So the first infraction, that bat's got to go, by the way. Okay, the first time you discover an illegal bat, bat's got to go. And the team who was using the illegal bat is losing one adult base coach. So they've got one coach or manager, whoever it happens to be, is still eligible to coach on the bases, but then they've got to use a player on the bases as well as a base coach. Can they decide not to use a player as a base coach and just not coach that base? Got to have base coaches. Okay. We'll lose one eligible adult base coach. Okay. Now the second violation, the manager's getting dumped. But man, we just don't see this. All right. It would be exceptionally rare that we would see an illegal bat used twice. First of all, if you did it the right way, you're taking that bat and you're getting out of there. And there's really zero chance of it coming back in if you're paying attention. If they're stupid enough to bring it back in, then you're dumping the manager. We talked about batting out of turn. This is going to be a separate presentation altogether. Moving on now, okay, so we don't have anybody out finally. The batter becomes a runner and is entitled to first base without liability to be put out. So in other words, they get first base, period. Okay? Whether the ball is live or dead is going to be determined based upon the following conditions. So first of all, okay, batter can get first base, provided they get there, of course, and touch first base. when 4 balls have been called. All right, ball is live, and base runners may advance. Remember that. It's a live ball on a walk. Moving on, prior to a pitch being thrown, the defense elects to intentionally walk the batter. This is all outlined in the 2017 rule changes, but it moves on from here. It's got to be made by the defensive manager. The manager must request and be granted time, and this must be before any pitches have been thrown to that batter. They may not throw a pitch and then request to be automatically walked. Also, 4 pitches get added to the pitch count in that situation. The batter also becomes a runner and is entitled to first base without liability of being put out when the batter is touched by a pitch ball, which the batter is not attempting to hit. Okay, hit by pitch. However, if the batter is attempting to hit it, it's a strike, dead ball, strike. Okay. The 2 exceptions here are if the ball is in the strike zone. So if you've got a batter that's really crowding the plate, toes on the line, leaning over, looking to get hit by a pitch. Doesn't happen that frequently, but sometimes you get some of these kids up there who are looking to do everything they can, or the coach tells them to go take a pitch or whatever, and they're leaning over. If that kid gets hit by a ball that you would call a strike, in other words, the ball is in the strike zone, okay, it's a strike. Leave that kid there. Also, if the kid is not making an effort to avoid being touched by the ball, just about any movement, any flinch, turn, action, anything, in my opinion, is going to be an attempt to avoid by being touched by the ball. Of course, they can lean into a pitch, in which case they were not getting out of the way, they were doing the opposite. If that's the case, they're staying there. Okay? And you're going to call that pitch whatever it happened to be. So if that batter kind of leans in a little bit to a pitch that's not in the strike zone, but gets hit by it and you think he's leaning in, you would normally call a ball on that pitch. It's just going to be a ball, and that kid stays there. He's not going to be happy about it, nor is the manager, but you better justify it. And again, if the ball is in the strike zone, it should be called a strike. If the ball is outside the strike zone, it should be called a ball, if that batter makes no attempt to avoid being touched. And that makes no attempt includes makes an attempt to get hit by it. When the batter is touched by a pitch ball, the ball is dead and no runner may advance. So this is a little weird because anytime the batter is hit by a ball, the ball is dead. If they're awarded first base, the ball's dead. If they're not awarded first base and you're calling it a ball or a strike, the ball is still dead. I don't know why they had to clarify this, but apparently somebody needed that to be done. So 608 batter still becomes a runner and is entitled to first base. The catcher or any fielder interferes with the batter. Okay, so this is catcher's interference. Now in this situation, it's not an immediate dead ball. Let the play complete. So you've got a runner on first. Batter swings. On his swing, he goes through the catcher's mitt, ticks it slightly, still has enough on him to hit a double. Okay? Now you've got a second and third or second and a run scores situation. That offensive manager may elect to negate the interference on the catcher, which is fine. I hope they would. Take the double and the run as opposed to put the runner back at second and now first on the interference. But normally speaking, they don't have enough left on the bat to get through the ball to do any kind of damage. We just want to make sure that as soon as that playing action is over, we call time. We see what the result of the play was. If it's just a single and the runner's on first, we've got no interference, but we've still got a dead ball. All right, so make sure that you kill the play after that play completes. If there was an out, upon the completion of you calling time, you're going to put the runner on first on catcher's interference. If there's anything different other than that, you want to ask the manager. We know what the manager's going to do, but make sure that you ask him anyway. If the catcher interferes with the batter before the pitcher delivers the ball, it shall not be considered interference. So here's the example, and this is the use case for this. It's in the High School Federation rule book as well. They call it backswing interference, not swing or follow-through interference. But the kid steps up to bat. He starts pinwheeling that bat a little bit, doing this big practice swing, big whatever. And on his backswing, getting ready, he ticks the catcher's glove. We see this happen all the time. Okay, usually it's, oops, sorry, man. At that point, when you see that happen, call time. Okay, and that's what disapproved ruling says. If you've got a situation where it's not interference, there's no play being made, the ball isn't being pitched, the batter is just getting in the box, getting ready, and on one of his back swings, he hits the catcher accidentally. Sometimes it's in the mitt, sometimes it's accidentally in the shin pads, depending on where the catcher is. Just kill it right then and there. Call time. Let everybody reset. There's no harm, there's no foul. It's not a ball is striking out, anything like that. But just kill the play, and then get them back together so that there's no advantage being taken. We don't want to see a catcher off guard on a pitched ball, and we don't want to see a batter caught off guard on a pitched ball either. Batter still becomes a runner when a fair ball touches an umpire. Man, this poor guy. Major League umpire, you know that sucker's going to hurt. Okay, so you've got a dead ball situation. A fair ball touches an umpire or a runner on fair territory before touching a fielder. That leaves a mark. Trust me on this one, kids. Approved ruling, as we said, the ball is dead. Runners who are forced advance. So if you've got first and third, and you've got umpire interference on a batted ball, you've got a dead ball situation. Now you've got bases loaded. Batter runner gets first, runner on first goes to second, runner on third does not go anywhere. However, if you're out in a little league field and you're out behind second baseman, you think this kid's going to make a play, and it skirts through his legs and whacks you, well, you're bad. Get out the way. All right, ball is live and in play. Let it continue. Now, the batter becomes a runner. All right, so finally we've got batter is out. Batter is out for illegal action. Batter becomes a runner without liability. Now we've got the batter becomes a runner and is liable to be put out when a fair ball is hit. A fair ball passes over a fence or into the stands at a distance of blah, 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 home run. A fair ball that passes out of the playing field less than all these distances, ground rule double. A fair ball bounds into the stands, through, under, over a fence, whatever, scoreboard, hits shrubbery, gets stuck someplace, whatever the case may be. Understand the situations for a ground rule double. Okay? Any fair ball either before or after touching the ground passes through a fence or under. More ground rule double stuff. 609G. Any bounding ball is deflected by the fielder into the stands or over or under a fence in fair or foul territory, in which case the batter and all runners shall be entitled to advance 2 bases. So another ground rule double situation. Okay? Everybody loves Jose Canseco, right? Remember this one from 93? Off the head, out of the park. Home run. Any fair fly balls deflected by the fielder into the stands or over the fence into foul territory, in which case the batter shall be entitled to advance to second base. But if deflected into the stands or over the fence in fair territory, the batter shall be entitled to a home run. Love that one. All right, guys, that's all of 6.0. We'll touch 6.07, batting out of order, in another presentation. Thanks for your time.